There are moments when the sky seems to whisper, and there are moments when it speaks so clearly that ignoring it becomes almost impossible. Today belongs to the second kind. I have been following the energetic patterns leading into this day for weeks, watching each movement connect to the next, and what is unfolding on June 25th feels far more meaningful than most people realize. On this day, Venus traveling through Leo reaches an exact trine with Saturn in Aries. At first glance, that might sound like one of those quiet astrological events that slips past unnoticed. But I want you to stay with me, because I truly believe this alignment deserves far more attention than it is receiving. In my view, it stands among the strongest relationship influences of the entire year, and its message reaches beyond temporary attraction. It speaks about love that survives time, love that is built instead of borrowed, love that remains standing after excitement fades and real life begins. If the past several weeks have left you feeling as though your relationships were carrying an invisible weight, there is a reason. Maybe you have sensed that every emotional connection has been under examination. Maybe it has felt as though life kept asking for patience, honesty, or emotional maturity before allowing the next chapter to unfold. That feeling has not been your imagination. It has been part of a larger process that has quietly shaped everything leading to this exact moment. Before I explain why, I want to draw your attention to 3 zodiac signs that are receiving something they have unknowingly been preparing for over a long period of time. If your sign happens to be among them, I sincerely hope you stay with me, because what happens today could finally explain why this entire month has felt so different. The story has been unfolding one step at a time, and now every piece is beginning to fit together. Many people will eventually look back at June and realize it was never an ordinary month. The changes often happened beneath the surface before they ever appeared in visible ways. If you've been paying close attention to your emotions, your closest relationships, or even the way your body has responded to everyday experiences, you have probably noticed subtle shifts that were difficult to explain. Everything began when Mercury entered Cancer at the very beginning of the month. Almost immediately, communication changed direction. Ordinary conversations no longer felt satisfying. Surface-level exchanges seemed empty, while deeper emotional honesty became impossible to avoid. You may have surprised yourself by revealing memories you usually protect, expressing feelings you had hidden for years, or opening doors inside your heart that normally remain locked. Many people experience that same quiet transformation. It was almost as though the universe gently lowered the importance of meaningless conversation and amplified everything connected to truth, vulnerability, and emotional authenticity. Then came June 9th, when Venus joined Jupiter in Cancer. That meeting created one of the most emotionally expansive experiences of the month. If you suddenly found yourself overwhelmed by love, longing, hope, or an intense desire for emotional security and genuine partnership, that response did not happen by accident. The conjunction invited your heart to become completely honest with itself. It revealed the difference between what you truly desired and what you had merely accepted out of convenience, fear, or habit. For perhaps the first time in a long while, you were shown the relationship your soul genuinely wanted, instead of the one you convinced yourself would be enough. Yet there was something important about that beautiful moment. As inspiring as the Venus and Jupiter conjunction was, it carried an unfinished quality. It awakened emotion, but it did not yet provide stability. It offered vision without foundation. It revealed possibility before showing the practical path that could transform hope into reality. Dreams were abundant, yet structure had not arrived. The heart knew what it wanted, but the road toward lasting commitment had not fully appeared. Everything began changing again on June 13th when Venus entered Leo. The emotional softness that had defined the earlier part of the month suddenly merged with confidence, dignity, and self-respect. Instead of simply wishing for deeper love, people began recognizing their own worth. Expectations shifted. Standards became clearer. Settling for inconsistent affection or uncertain commitment no longer felt acceptable. If you noticed yourself becoming less willing to tolerate mixed signals, emotional inconsistency, or relationships that fail to honor your value, you were responding exactly as this transit intended. Venus in Leo encourages the heart to remember its own importance. It reminds you that genuine love should never require shrinking yourself in order to receive it. Looking back across the entire month, a clear pattern begins to emerge. The universe first invited you to soften emotionally. It then revealed what your heart genuinely longed for. After that, it encouraged you to develop the courage to stop accepting less than your true desires deserved. Every previous step has quietly prepared you for what arrives today. This is why June 25th should not be viewed as just another planetary movement. It represents a moment of confirmation. At 8 o'clock in the morning on June 25th, Venus reaches 13 degrees and 55 minutes of Leo, while Saturn stands at 13 degrees and 55 minutes of Aries, creating a perfect trine between two fire signs at the exact same degree. Alignments with this level of precision are rare, and they often carry the feeling that an important cycle has finally reached completion. Instead of continuing to ask whether you have learned the lesson, the universe may now begin revealing the results of everything those lessons have been preparing you to receive. Understanding why this matters begins with understanding the planets themselves. Venus governs love, attraction, personal values, and the connections that call to your heart. Saturn governs time, responsibility, commitment, structure, and perhaps most importantly, karma. Whenever these two planetary forces meet through a harmonious aspect like this one, relationships are invited to move beyond fantasy. Emotional connections begin revealing whether they possess the strength to endure. Illusions lose their power, while commitment, maturity, and lasting partnership become the qualities that matter most. That is why today carries such extraordinary significance, and it also explains why what happens next may feel less like coincidence and more like the natural reward for everything you have already been asked to become. This is the moment when appearances lose their power. Everything that was only decoration begins to disappear, leaving behind only what possesses enough strength to endure. That is the remarkable quality of the energy unfolding today. It refuses to preserve anything that cannot survive the passage of time. Whether you realize it immediately or not, the cosmic atmosphere is quietly separating temporary attraction from genuine commitment, asking every relationship a simple but profound question. Can this continue growing long after the excitement settles, or has it always depended upon illusion alone? Understanding why this day feels so different requires recognizing the nature of the aspect itself. Whenever Venus and Saturn meet through challenging configurations, such as a square or an opposition, the emotional experience often feels restrictive. Love can seem distant, delayed, or burdened by responsibilities that appear impossible to overcome. Many people remember those periods because they rarely arrive gently. Instead of offering immediate fulfillment, they teach through absence. They teach through unanswered feelings, through disappointments, through long seasons of waiting, and through moments when external validation disappears completely. During those difficult transits, the greatest lesson often has nothing to do with another person. It becomes a journey of discovering your own value before expecting anyone else to recognize it. Those experiences can be exhausting because they force you to build confidence, boundaries, and emotional resilience without receiving immediate evidence that your effort will eventually matter. Today tells an entirely different story. A trine does not operate through resistance, it operates through harmony. Instead of creating obstacles, it allows everything that has already been earned to move naturally into place. Rather than testing whether you are ready, it reflects the growth you have already completed. That is why this Venus-Trine-Saturn alignment carries such extraordinary significance. Every difficult conversation that taught you stronger boundaries, every painful ending that forced you to respect yourself more deeply, every lonely season that encouraged you to stop accepting less than you deserved, has quietly prepared you for this exact moment. Nothing has been wasted. Every lesson has become part of the foundation beneath your feet. It is almost as though the universe has been watching your progress in silence, allowing every challenge to shape your character, until the time finally arrived to acknowledge the work that no one else could see. The message carried within this trine feels unmistakable. You have grown through the lessons. Now allow the rewards to meet the version of yourself that those lessons created. The fact that this alignment unfolds between Leo and Aries makes its influence even more compelling. These are both fire signs, yet they express fire in different ways. Leo radiates confidence, generosity, and the desire to love openly with pride and authenticity. Aries contributes bravery, initiative, and the willingness to move forward without allowing fear to dictate every decision. Together, they create an energy that is both passionate and dependable. This is not the kind of relationship that survives merely because it is practical. Neither is it a connection driven only by chemistry that disappears once reality arrives. Instead, it combines excitement with stability, desire with commitment, and inspiration with endurance. That combination is remarkably uncommon, because genuine passion often struggles to coexist with long-term security. Yet this trine suggests that both qualities can exist together. It offers warmth without recklessness, intensity without instability, and devotion without sacrificing individuality. It is as though the fearless spirit of Aries and the courageous heart of Leo have chosen to build something capable of shining brightly without consuming itself. As I studied today's chart, another detail stood out with equal importance, and I believe many people may overlook it completely. Throughout the entire day, the moon remains in Scorpio. That placement changes everything because Scorpio refuses superficiality. Under this lunar influence, emotional shortcuts simply do not work. Polite conversations that avoid the truth lose their purpose. Carefully maintained emotional masks become increasingly difficult to wear. Scorpio insists on reaching beneath appearances until it discovers what is authentic. It examines motives, fears, hidden desires, and unspoken emotions with remarkable precision. Because of that, the beautiful promise created by the Venus-Saturn trine does not unfold in isolation. The Scorpio moon becomes its emotional guardian, ensuring that whatever receives today's blessing rests upon complete honesty rather than performance. Think about what that means on a personal level. If someone enters your life today, or if an existing relationship reaches a meaningful turning point, the emotional foundation supporting that experience is unlikely to tolerate deception. Pretending to be someone else in order to gain acceptance becomes increasingly impossible. Hiding your true feelings simply to preserve temporary comfort becomes emotionally exhausting. Instead, the Scorpio moon encourages both people to stand before each other without unnecessary defenses. Although that process can feel deeply vulnerable, it is also incredibly liberating because lasting commitment cannot be built upon carefully managed appearances. It requires truth, even when truth feels uncomfortable. In many ways, today's lunar energy acts like an emotional inspection before permanent decisions are allowed to move forward. If something survives that examination, it becomes far stronger because it has already proven itself beneath the surface. For that reason, do not be surprised if conversations become unexpectedly intense today. Someone may ask a question that reaches deeper than you anticipated. A simple exchange could uncover emotions that have remained hidden for far longer than either person intended. You may even hear words that touch a part of yourself you normally protect from everyone else. Rather than interpreting those moments as problems, consider the possibility that they are evidence of something much greater taking place. The Scorpio moon is not attempting to create unnecessary drama. It is simply refusing to allow false foundations to support genuine commitment. Every emotional revelation serves a purpose. Every honest admission removes another layer standing between appearance and reality. If today's experiences feel emotionally powerful, it may simply be because truth has finally become more important than comfort. As meaningful as the morning that comes, the cosmic story does not end there. The second half of the day introduces another influence that completes the larger picture. Later on, June 25th, the Sun, traveling through Cancer, forms an exact square with Neptune in Aries. This aspect possesses a very different function, yet it arrives at exactly the right moment. Neptune often surrounds situations with dreams, ideals, projections, and hopeful fantasies. Under its influence, people sometimes fall in love with possibilities instead of realities. They may imagine qualities that are not truly present, convincing themselves that potential is the same as truth. When the Sun challenges Neptune through a square, those illusions begin dissolving. What once appeared certain may suddenly become questionable. What seemed perfect may reveal its imperfections. Although this process can feel temporarily confusing, it also creates an extraordinary opportunity for clarity. The timing of these two aspects is what makes today's chart feel so remarkable. During the morning, the Venus-Saturn trine strengthens relationships that possess genuine substance. Later, the Sun-Neptune square quietly removes everything that depended upon fantasy rather than authenticity. Seen together, these energies perform complementary roles. One preserves what is real. The other dissolves what never truly existed. If you have been holding tightly to an idealized version of someone, or clinging to hopes that were built more upon imagination than evidence, today may gently but unmistakably reveal the difference. While that realization could initially feel disappointing, it also carries tremendous freedom. Once unrealistic expectations disappear, you are finally able to recognize what has been standing before you all along. Anything that remains steady after Neptune's illusions fade deserves your attention because it has already demonstrated something invaluable. It has proven that it does not require fantasy in order to exist, and that realization prepares the way for everything that follows. Whatever remains after today's cosmic process has finished is the connection that deserves your time, your energy, and your future. That is the relationship capable of growing through changing seasons instead of collapsing when circumstances become difficult. From my perspective, this is not the universe taking something away simply for the sake of loss. It is acting with remarkable honesty. Sometimes compassion does not arrive by protecting us from disappointment. Sometimes it arrives by removing confusion. The fog begins to lift, hidden truths become visible, and for the first time in a long while, you are able to recognize which direction has been waiting for you all along. Clarity may feel uncomfortable in the beginning, but it always becomes the doorway to freedom. Now we arrive at the part of today's astrology that feels especially significant. Every person will experience the influence of this Venus and Saturn trine in some form, because no one exists completely outside the rhythm of the collective sky. Even so, there are 3 zodiac signs standing in particularly powerful positions to receive the fullest expression of this energy. For them, I believe, June 25th represents more than an ordinary transit. It has the potential to become one of those defining memories that only makes complete sense after time has passed. Months from now, they may look back and recognize this exact day as the point where an entirely different chapter quietly began. If your sun, moon, or rising sign is Aries, I want you to pay especially close attention because this message carries extraordinary importance for you. The months following Saturn's entrance into Aries back in February have demanded far more from you than many people around you have realized. Growth has not been optional. Life has repeatedly placed you in situations that required greater maturity, deeper patience, and stronger personal responsibility. Parts of your identity that once felt comfortable have gradually fallen away, even when you were not emotionally prepared to release them. Certain impulsive reactions no longer served your future. Familiar behavioral patterns that once felt exciting gradually revealed their limitations. Relationships built primarily upon intensity, excitement, or constant stimulation could no longer support the person you were becoming. Saturn has been removing those foundations one layer at a time. For many Aries individuals, this process has felt surprisingly lonely. As someone naturally energized by movement, enthusiasm, and immediate action, carrying the weight of Saturn can feel like learning to run while wearing armor. You may have wondered why everything suddenly demanded more patience than before. Responsibilities may have seemed heavier. Freedom may have appeared smaller. At times, it could even feel as though the qualities that make Aries vibrant were being replaced by endless lessons about discipline, consistency, and accountability. That emotional tension has been real, and it has required tremendous inner strength to continue moving forward without losing hope. Yet everything changes when today's alignment comes into focus. Venus is now illuminating your fifth house, the area associated with romance, creativity, happiness, self-expression, and heartfelt enjoyment. From that position, it forms an exact trine with Saturn occupying your first house. This connection reveals something profoundly encouraging. Every difficult lesson you've accepted over recent months has been reshaping the kind of love your life is capable of attracting. The person emerging from this period is no longer seeking temporary excitement simply because it feels intense in the moment. Instead, your energy is beginning to resonate with relationships capable of honoring both your independence and your authentic nature. The universe is no longer encouraging fleeting attraction that disappears almost as quickly as it arrives. It is opening the possibility for passion that continues growing instead of fading. Joy no longer needs to be brief in order to remain exciting. The deeper message being offered to Aries today feels beautifully simple. You never had to sacrifice your authentic self in order to receive enduring love. Those two desires were never in conflict with one another. The challenge was becoming emotionally mature enough to carry both at the same time. Your individuality no longer needs to compete with commitment. Your courage no longer needs to exist without emotional security. The growth Saturn demanded has quietly prepared you to receive relationships that celebrate your strength instead of trying to control it. That realization alone has the power to transform everything that follows. If your sun, moon, or rising sign is Leo, another extraordinary chapter is unfolding for you. Chances are you have already sensed subtle changes taking place ever since Venus entered your sign on June 13th. Something about your presence has become easier for other people to notice. Confidence has started returning naturally. Your personality may feel brighter, your energy more magnetic, and your connection to your authentic identity noticeably stronger than it has been for quite some time. Others may be responding differently, without fully understanding why, yet you can probably feel that shift from the inside as well. What makes today's alignment particularly meaningful is Saturn's current journey through your ninth house, the area connected with long-term vision, personal beliefs, higher understanding, and the future you are intentionally creating. Throughout this transit, Saturn has quietly asked you to examine questions that reach far beyond ordinary romance. Instead of focusing only upon who attracts you, it has encouraged you to examine what kind of future deserves your commitment. It has challenged your beliefs about your own value, your expectations within partnership, and your willingness to protect the life you truly want to build. Perhaps the hardest question has been whether you could walk away from someone who did not belong in that future, even if strong feelings were involved. Those reflections have not always been easy. Many Leos have carried them privately, rarely speaking about them aloud. Beneath the confident exterior, there may have been a growing awareness of relationship patterns that no longer reflected your evolution. Perhaps you repeatedly attracted people who admired your confidence without making the effort to understand your emotional depth. Maybe they celebrated your brightest qualities while withdrawing whenever vulnerability appeared. Some may have enjoyed the image you projected while never fully embracing the person behind it. Those experiences can slowly create exhaustion because being admired is not the same as being genuinely known. Today's exact trine between Venus in your first house and Saturn in your ninth house suggests that this cycle is reaching an important conclusion. The relationships entering your life now, or the existing connections growing stronger under this influence, are guided by something much deeper than physical attraction alone. Shared direction becomes just as important as shared chemistry. Lasting compatibility begins replacing temporary excitement. The people capable of remaining beside you now are more likely to appreciate not only your confidence, but also your values, your long-term aspirations, and the future you are determined to create. They recognize your boundaries rather than resisting them. They respect your ambitions instead of minimizing them. Most importantly, they understand that genuine partnership means building something meaningful together, rather than simply enjoying the excitement of the present moment. That shift represents far more than a new romantic opportunity. It reflects the moment when your standards finally become fully aligned with the life you have been preparing yourself to receive. And that alignment naturally opens the door to everything that comes next. For Leo, the deeper promise unfolding today reaches far beyond simple romance. The lesson being anchored now is that you no longer have to divide yourself into acceptable pieces in order to receive affection. You were never meant to be loved, only for your confidence, your generosity, or the parts of your personality that are easy for others to celebrate. The relationship that truly belongs in your life is capable of embracing your strength and your vulnerability with equal respect. Anyone who cannot meet you at that level was never aligned with your path, even if it once seemed convincing. The energy of today makes that realization almost impossible to ignore, replacing uncertainty with unmistakable clarity. Now we come to Aquarius, and I intentionally saved this sign until the end, because I believe today's alignment carries extraordinary potential for Aquarius, in a way that may become obvious only after some time has passed. If your sun, moon, or rising sign falls in Aquarius, listen closely, because this may be one of the most meaningful relationship turning points you have experienced in quite a while. At this moment, Venus is moving through Leo, directly activating your seventh house. This is the area of the chart associated with committed partnerships, marriage, long-term relationships, and the person you consciously choose to build your future beside. Venus traveling through this house naturally magnifies your desire for meaningful connection, encouraging your heart to seek relationships that feel balanced, reciprocal, and emotionally fulfilling rather than temporary or uncertain. At exactly the same time, Saturn, your traditional ruling planet, continues its journey through Aries in your third house. The third house governs communication, everyday conversations, thought patterns, learning, and the ways you express what lives inside your mind and heart. Saturn has been asking you to become increasingly intentional in this area. Vague language no longer serves you. Avoiding difficult conversations no longer protects you. Hiding behind emotional distance simply because intellectual analysis feels safer has gradually become less effective. Instead, Saturn has patiently encouraged you to communicate with greater precision, establish healthier boundaries, and express your needs with confidence rather than hesitation. When Venus in your seventh house forms its exact trine with Saturn in your third house, these two stories come together in a remarkably powerful way. The message feels unmistakable. The conversation you have delayed may finally be ready to happen. You probably already know which conversation this is. Perhaps it is the moment when you finally define the relationship instead of allowing uncertainty to linger. Perhaps it is the discussion where expectations become clear instead of remaining unspoken. Perhaps it is simply the willingness to speak honestly about where your heart truly stands, rather than assuming silence will somehow keep you emotionally safe. One of the greatest misunderstandings about Aquarius is the belief that this sign fears love itself. I do not believe that is true. More often, Aquarius fears losing individuality after entering a committed relationship. There can be a quiet concern that partnership will require sacrificing personal freedom, independent thought, or the unique qualities that make you who you are. Throughout Saturn's current transit, life has slowly challenged that belief. Sometimes the lesson has arrived gently, while at other times it has felt uncomfortable. Yet the message has remained consistent. Healthy commitment does not erase freedom. The right relationship creates stability that allows freedom to flourish even more naturally. Instead of becoming a limitation, genuine partnership becomes the secure foundation from which your individuality can continue expanding. The energetic agreement being established for Aquarius today reflects exactly that truth. Under this Venus-Saturn trine, words possess unusual permanence. Promises spoken honestly carry remarkable weight. Conversations held with sincerity can establish foundations that continue influencing the future long after today has passed. If you choose this moment to define your relationship, express your intentions, or commit yourself with complete honesty, those words are supported by Saturn's enduring influence. They are not empty statements drifting into the air. They become meaningful commitments built upon integrity and emotional maturity. That is why thoughtful communication matters so much under this transit. Every sentence has the potential to become part of something lasting. There is also one final reminder that feels especially important for Aquarius. Your instinct may still encourage emotional distance. Keeping everything casual can sometimes appear safer than investing your whole heart, because remaining detached seems to reduce the possibility of disappointment. Yet today's astrology quietly suggests that this familiar pattern may have reached its natural conclusion. The stable, dependable relationship you have hoped for, one that respects both your independence and your intellectual nature, may already be much closer than you realize. The only remaining step is allowing yourself to remain present long enough for that possibility to fully arrive, instead of stepping away the moment vulnerability begins to appear. As significant as today feels, it should not be viewed as an isolated event existing by itself. The days immediately following continue developing the story that begins here. On June 29th, the full moon takes place in Capricorn, a sign ruled by Saturn. Because of that connection, whatever commitments are established today have the opportunity to move from emotional intention into practical reality. Feelings begin seeking concrete expression. Agreements ask to become actions. Relationships naturally move toward conversations involving real-world decisions, whether that means discussing finances, organizing shared responsibilities, or officially recognizing the commitment in whatever form feels appropriate for your situation. That same day also brings Mercury stationing retrograde in Cancer. Rather than seeing this as an obstacle, I believe its timing complements everything that has already unfolded. Mercury retrograde creates space for thoughtful reflection. It invites you to revisit recent experiences, examine the commitments you have made, and ensure that every decision genuinely supports your emotional foundation. This is not an invitation to doubt yourself unnecessarily. Instead, it is an opportunity to integrate what has changed, allowing your heart and your mind to settle into the same understanding before moving confidently ahead. Then, on June the 30th, another important chapter begins as Jupiter enters Leo. The symbolism of this transition feels especially meaningful because Jupiter represents expansion, opportunity, abundance, and growth. As it enters the same sign Venus has been energizing throughout the month, it becomes almost as though the universe breathes fresh life into everything that has already been established. The foundations strengthened by Saturn now receive Jupiter's encouragement to continue growing. Joy expands. Creativity flourishes. relationships built upon honesty and commitment are given room to develop over the course of the coming year. What begins today, therefore, carries the potential to influence far more than a single moment. It may become the opening scene of a chapter whose full significance reveals itself gradually with time. Before we finish, I want to leave you with one final thought. Many of us have been taught, either through experience or through the stories we hear around us, that love must always involve struggle. We begin believing that constant difficulty somehow proves emotional depth. After living through demanding Saturn transits, including challenging squares and oppositions that seem to teach through hardship, it becomes understandable why so many people expect every meaningful relationship to require endless suffering. Yet today's astrology offers an entirely different perspective. This is not the lesson. This is what follows the lesson. This is the moment when growth begins producing visible results. The effort you invested in becoming emotionally stronger, more self-aware, and more honest with yourself was never meaningless. It prepared you for a relationship where commitment protects passion instead of extinguishing it, where stability supports excitement instead of replacing it. If part of you still wonders whether you have truly done enough to receive this kind of experience, notice the very fact that you are asking the question. Genuine readiness often carries humility rather than certainty. The people who refuse to examine themselves rarely wonder whether they are prepared. Your willingness to reflect already says something important about your journey. Trust that awareness. Allow today's Scorpio moon to guide you toward emotional truth. Allow Venus in Leo to remind you of the standards you have worked so hard to establish. Allow Saturn in Aries to strengthen everything built upon authenticity. The love supported by this transit is not defined by temporary excitement alone. It is supported by qualities capable of remaining strong long after the first spark has appeared. Thank you for spending this time with me and sharing this journey through today's astrology. If this message connected with your experience, I would be grateful if you subscribed to continue exploring these cosmic cycles together. I would also love to hear from you in the comments. Tell me your zodiac sign and share what this recent energy has been bringing into your life. Whether you are an Aries, a Leo, an Aquarius, or belong to any other sign, your experience adds another piece to this collective story. Take especially good care of yourself today. Remain open to what is unfolding, and I look forward to sharing the next journey with you very soon.